Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our show, Option Forward. We thank you for tuning in today. As always, I'm joined by the other half of the show. I'm your boy, Drew, the other half, GQ Nesto. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Ready to get this thing rolling.
Okay. We have a very exciting topic, in my opinion, that we want to discuss today. And I wanted to bring someone who can shed some light, some expertise on it. Man, she's is that Esquire? Is that what?
That's one of the ways you can address me, yes.
What?
That's one of them.
I read a little bit. But today we have Miss Andrea, attorney Andrea, on the social media handles. But what we want to talk about today is this decriminalization of the Mary Jane, the sticky icky, the herb. But before we get into that, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I am happy to be here. Very excited. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm alive. I'm healthy. Couldn't ask for more.
Amen.
And you're here, and we're about to get into this. So tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself. What's your background? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up actually in Texas, but I've been in LA since forever.
You're a Cowboy fan?
Sure, yes. When we were good, I'm a fan. I'm a bandwagoner, so
had to make sure.
I mean, I live here now, so I'm Lakers and Golden, all that. But
go what?
The Warriors.
What?
What? Is that not okay? Is that too far? Is that too?
The Lakers was fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm whatever is doing well. I appreciate well played sports. So, but no, I'm from Texas. I went to college out here. Went to Pepperdine. I stayed in Los Angeles for law school. The weather's good, obviously, so I stayed, and it worked out. I mean, it's a good city. It's a great city to, get your career further, and you meet interesting people. So I'm here, but I'm originally from Nigeria. My parents are Nigerian.
Okay.
So strong culture, go to school, do this, do that, very overbearing, but with love. So that's how I grew up. I have two sisters.
So was it your mom or your dad that pushed the law? Like, what were you supposed to be? Like in some cultures, like, you're either going to be a nurse, you're going to be a doctor. So where did that come from?
That is definitely how we were raised. It was like a doctor. I think I was going to be a doctor, actually. And then I got to college and decided to be a journalist. I wanted to be an anchor and be on TV, get to dress up, all of that. My parents were like, absolutely not.
What?
You're going to go to school.
Okay.
Like, higher education. But basically, it's funny, actually, my dad, he got called for jury duty when we were younger. And I think Nigerian society just has like a very different law, system set up. So when he saw the attorneys that were in the courtroom and just the antics and the banter and just the charisma, he was like, okay, one of my daughters, he has three daughters, is going to be an attorney. So, I don't know how it happened, but his influence somehow, some way, I ended up going down that route because they were like, oh, you want to be a journalist? You're going to have to go in the middle of nowhere. So I ended up going to law school, but it worked out because I love what I do. I love law. I think it's so interesting. I did well in law school. So it worked out, but it definitely was both of them. Mom is more aggressive. Dad is more subtle, but it was definitely his idea, the attorney idea, the concept. Yeah, it was definitely from him.
Okay.
What about your personality? Are you the sassy one? What was it that he saw because obviously he must have seen some characteristics in you that were like, okay, she can take the heat.
You know what? I mean, yes, I'm a talker. I can be a talker. I definitely charismatic, definitely get along well with people. So I think when you're dealing with people on that kind of level, I mean, I think it's good to have personal skills because attorneys, you deal with people all day and night. This is service industry. I have clients that are real people, even if they're corporations, there are faces behind that. So I think it is important to have people skills. So I know that's probably one of the things he observed. And I can kind of keep myself very poised and calm in face of adversity. So the judge, won't faze me because I'll be like, yes, Your Honor. Like, nothing fazes me. We'll deal with it later. I think I try to just keep really calm and level-headed in situations of high stress.
Okay.
I mean, not to say that I'm not stressed at work all the time, but when it really counts, I mean, I think he knows that I was level in that respect growing up.
And what type of law is it that you practice?
So I do corporate right now, represent corporations. So we basically help corporations, big and small, navigate the legal field. We do everything. I personally love learning different areas of the law. So I try to make myself up to speed on everything. So.
And okay, so when you say help navigate, are we talking purchasing and acquisitions? Or are we talking what's in a ballpark, what I'm saying, for somebody who has no idea, oh, she says she does corporate law, but
yeah.
So what, a example?
Example, employment issues, right? So every corporation, for the most part, hires employees, fires employees. So there's legal ways to deal with that hiring. There's process, protocol, procedure, just helping them even put together booklets to even, give to new hires or whatever it may be. Acquisitions, yes, they need contracts drafted. They need contracts revised. They need to negotiate different things, whether it's supplies, whatever it may be. So that's why I say it's pretty much everything, because it's whatever they need that day, which could be research on something. It just could be literally anything. So it's pretty wide. But basically, our clients are predominantly corporations who need help, legal help, and just staying out of legal trouble. I've done tax issues, don't love it, but I've done it. Just because if that's what the client needs, it's what we have to do. Slip and falls, everything.
Are you passionate for a specific side of the law? Is there a specific side that you're just I think that's my calling, aside from just being a general overall attorney?
Yeah, you know what? I actually love criminal law. I find it the most interesting and the most the area that needs the most advocacy. And I'm big on that because, you have to go to bat for your clients regardless of, what the background is, what their situation is. So when you take on a client, I take that very seriously. So I love criminal law just because I think it is an area that has so much room and potential to grow and change. It's just interesting. However, I didn't do it because I spent time at the DA's office and I didn't see myself staying there long term. I just didn't see myself on that side of the fence, or however you want to put it. But I could see myself later down the line getting back into criminal, or being able to take criminal clients eventually. I could definitely see myself doing that.
Do you ever see yourself progressing to that judge level, or what is that process like? Is there a percentage of cases that you have to win before you're considered for a nomination like that? How does that work? I've always had an interest in that.
I'm definitely interested in the judge track. That is something that's not at the forefront right now, but always in the back burner, just because I think we need more judges of color, absolutely, on the bench. It is really important to have representation, especially in such a powerful position. But it actually, no, you just need, I think it's a certain amount of years you have to spend, whether it's 7 or 10 or whatever. It used to be less, but now they made it more difficult. So you have to practice for X amount of years. And then, you'll need a few people to pull strings, call, whatever they need to do on your behalf. But usually if you're on a lot of boards, if you make yourself accessible, if you are involved in your community, your name kind of, will hit the governor's book eventually. Exactly. Yeah. And then also you can also run too after you reach out. You can just run, in a local election if you want to. But it's better to have kind of, support. Like with anything else, it's definitely it's a political position. So in a way.
So let me ask you this: is your attorney hat all day, every day on, or is there a certain time frame where you just let me just unwind and let me just have fun?
Okay. That's a great question because it's all about balance, right? Everything in this life to me is about balance. So it is really hard sometimes just because you're so in that mode and everything's contentious and back and forth. But no, I really try to separate myself when I go home with my friends. I like to chill. I like to not think as deeply. I'm yeah, sure. I let all my girlfriends plan everything because I'm not going to do it. I've had a long day. Right. So I definitely try to separate from it. But if we're out, and something happens, an issue comes, I'm going to come at the forefront because, I have the tools at my disposal. I have the education. So why not use it? That's the perk. It goes home with you. Let my boyfriend get stopped by an officer. I'm talking, you know? So,
Does he get it too? Like, does he get the whole, like, are you a little bossy with him? Like, a little bit?
I try not to be.
You're definitely bossy.
I try not to be. I mean, with certain things, I think overall I am chill, but with certain things, yeah, I'm a woman and I am educated and strong and all those things. So like certain things, like, no, we're doing it this way. but I try to be easygoing because he doesn't do too much wrong. I mean, at least that I've noticed. So yeah, it's, you know.
Now, did you train him or he came like that? just throwing it out there.
I'd say a little bit of both.
Okay.
No, I'm big on character. So anyone that I associate with, I've assessed their character to a degree. Part of the lawyer skills that I have.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, okay, I got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a good judge of character. So he came with, good skills, good home rearing, upbringing, all that fun stuff. And then I also can teach. I'll say teach, not train. Is that better? Does that sound better at all?
That sounds a little bit better.
Redirect.
Yes, redirect. That's good. That's a good one. I'm taking that. Yeah, redirect.
And he doesn't practice law?
No, he's in tech.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. If he wasn't doing law, what would you
Well, let me just say this. I don't like dating. Male lawyers to me are a whole another planet. Like, no, I'll just keep in my lane. I could not. I don't think I could. It's just that we have a lot of like ego and personality. And I feel like the men, no offense guys, have more than we do. So
it'd just be like playing table tennis all night.
Low key, yeah. Yeah.
But it's funny that you brought up that criminal law. You have a lot of interest in that. And like I said, that's why we're here today. Because I no longer stay in this area, but being down here, I see like dispensaries on every corner, right? And everybody knows if you haven't been living under a rock that, the Mary Jane, the herb is pretty much is legal. But what I think about is everybody that's behind bars because of a marijuana related offense. Now, from what I hear and what I understand, it's not just solely marijuana why they getting all these long sentences. It just happened to be, that's just tagged to whatever offense they got, I guess, charged with. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like the association of it. So what happens to those inmates and those people behind bars for a marijuana related charge? And you got everybody out here making millions of dollars on the weed. So I'm behind bars, but you got everybody on the streets doing what I'm behind bars for. Can you shed a little light on that?
Yeah, definitely. So it would be, I think what you were trying to say is that it's an enhancement, right? So if you get stopped for something else or you like holding a weapon or whatever, then you have marijuana on you, it will enhance and increase your charges or, whichever one carries more. Yeah, that's a whole crazy issue. But the reality is with law, typically when laws are made, they don't typically retroactively make changes, right? So what I mean is when a law gets made, let's say tomorrow, for the people that have already been charged and convicted and, found guilty of breaking the law before it changed or, based on the law at the time, typically those things aren't overturned. Now, some laws do put a caveat in effect that retroactively going back X years, these people the charges will be dropped. But unfortunately, marijuana is one of the issues that I don't think we've had enough pushback in that area. So what's happening now is that people are aware of this, right? People are in jail currently for marijuana sentences for 10, 20, whatever years, because federally it was a class 1, like it was the same level as like, I think heroin or whatever, right. Meth, one of those, drugs. So it was taken very seriously. And obviously the charges that accompanied that were very serious as well. So unfortunately, the reality is that more needs to be done or is kind of starting to be done to look at those individual cases and start overturning some of those convictions and start trying to have resentencing hearings and all of that. But the court is so backlogged from COVID, from everything. So, I don't know how close on the docket it is, but I think it's something that's being looked at. It's just unfortunate that, that they had to suffer those consequences when now, like you said, people are making millions. And it's more unfortunate because a lot of the people who are mostly benefiting from the legalization of marijuana are people who were never affected by the, when it was criminalized. So, they didn't go to jail, they didn't serve sentences, they were out making money in other aspects, and now they're using that money to, start a cannabis business. And it's just really sad how it played out legally. I don't think it's, one of our finest hours, honestly, on the criminal side.
Yeah. So what? And so you hinted on it. So it was the resentencing. I believe I when I was doing research upon this topic, there is an opportunity for people to do so, but is it costly? How do you obtain that representation if you want to go to the whole like, hey, let's relook at my case and see if I can get out a little earlier? Because I heard that could be, or there is an issue for some inmates. It's like, yo, I don't even got the money to pay for this, and then like you said, it's a backlog. So what options are available for people who actually want to look into something of this nature?
So with criminal law, cost is always going to be a factor. Criminal law specifically can't be paid. You can't pay your attorney's fees on contingency like with some type of other laws like personal injury and all of that, car accidents. You can pay them after you win your case. So criminal law, you have to pay up front, and the costs are, as you can imagine, very steep. So you're right, that is a major barrier. We have wonderful public defenders that are available. We have legal aid clinics, and I advise everyone to research and go in their city and just whether you're in Chicago, wherever, Chicago Legal Aid, Los Angeles Legal Aid. I think most states have their own legal aid centers. The problem is it's just they have so many people to serve so it's just difficult to get to them all. So it is hard. Cost is definitely a hinders getting justice sometimes, really, unfortunately. I mean, there are resources, but the reality is the better attorney you have, the more he or she will advocate for you, the more they'll go to bat for you, the more they'll be able to get things done and push papers and, make moves. So the reality is, if you're not able to afford it, just try to reach out to, people there are big firms who also do pro bono work. So it just takes a little bit of research. So whoever you have outside, your family, friends, like have them research, have them make some calls. It definitely takes some work, but there are options. There are public defenders. There are legal aid clinics. There are, like I said, firms that do, big law firms that have a certain amount of hours that they make the associates dedicate to doing work that needs to be done, work like that.
So with that being said, I mean, you mentioned a couple of things that kind of just turned on a couple lights in my head as far as like, you being in the DA's office before and experiencing, different sides of the law, right? On the public, on the government side, and obviously as on the corporate. But what are your thoughts on obviously public defenders? Because obviously there's a big misconception about people saying that he just barely passed the test, like he's not going to defend you, or like certain things like that. And then do you think that there's a huge disadvantage in that, or is just a myth?
I think there are wonderful public defenders. I think the issue is they are overworked. And there's only so much you can do in a day. And as an attorney, I can tell you, we are so like overwhelmed with work. It's like emails and calls and then your actual like substantive work, right? So we're spread thin as it is. So I can't imagine, which is one of the reasons criminal law is definitely something I want to look at later on. I just can't imagine you're dealing with someone's life, someone's future, someone's child, someone's mother, someone's father in your hands, right? And you have, I don't even know how much is on their docket, but I don't blame them. I mean, the reality is we're all human and there's only so much we can do. With that said, I think there are phenomenal public defenders who are able to get things done, to make moves. It's just a matter of funding, because if they were paid more too, then you would encourage more people to be interested. I think it's just one of the areas that needs to be overhauled, criminal defense, just because when you can look at the numbers and you look at, whether people are satisfied with representation, that's where you get the idea from. Are people satisfied? They're like, hey, my lawyer didn't do enough. And maybe that person just really tried their hardest, but it's just so spread thin that, that day they couldn't do enough. But that's not enough when you're dealing with someone's life, when someone's right. freedom, someone's liberty. So, I get the stigma with it, but I know a few public defenders and I know they work very hard. I just think it's tedious work. It's hard work. It's demanding, not only like physically, but emotionally. And when you pack that all in one, I mean, they do what they do for a reason. They obviously have to love what they're doing because you're not paid that well. It's not easy. You're fighting aggressive district attorneys all the time, like DAs who are hungry to get convictions, who want to get justice. And it all just depends on what side of the, coin you're on. But I mean, I think that we are blessed in California with good public defenders and, who are just trying their best.
You don't do no pro bono?
I do actually.
Okay.
I do.
Just throwing it out there because
I do.
Okay.
It's hard. I try to balance, but I definitely have taken on, minor things, misdemeanors. I will definitely help out where I can, evictions, whatever, unlawful detainers. I try to touch every area.
Now, what are some myths that people have about, like, I've heard a lot of people say that, this law system is designed for you to, settle, and not fight for certain rights that you have, especially on the criminal side. A lot of convictions come from people taking a deal versus actually going to court. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that's true, or do you actually believe that there's just a lot of misinformation on a lot of people's behalf that they just find it easy to just settle and call it a day?
No, I think you're right that people do often take a deal, right? But the reality is we have to remember that, yes, a lot of people are wrongfully imprisoned, but a lot of people actually did stuff. So they're in jail, for a reason, and they know that, oh, I'm getting this deal, I better take it, because if we go to trial, I don't know if I'll be able to prove, or I'll be able to poke enough holes in the prosecution's theory because I actually did it. So I think, people who are maybe eager to take a deal or whatever, it may be because they know, like, okay, let me take this deal because it will be less time in jail, easier sentence. At the same time, there are people who have felt pressure to take deals. And I think that's definitely a problem that needs addressing as well. Because if you are innocent, you should have the full protections that are afforded to you under the Constitution, under law. And you shouldn't feel intimidated or forced or pressured to take a deal, especially if you didn't, if you actually didn't do it. However, if you did, deals sometimes are better because they want to get it off the docket. They want to free up court time, so they'll give you a little bit less time, slap on the wrist, whatever the case may be. So I think it's context specific. It depends on the individual. You innocent, definitely maybe not rush to a deal and try to fight as much as you can. But if you did it, sometimes I think
if you did it, just cough it up. It's good.
Try. Fight for a good deal though. That's on your attorney needs to make sure that he or she advocates for you and pushes for the best possible deal, even if you did it. Because you did doesn't mean you're your whole future should be messed up. So you definitely want to be cognizant of, oh, what's on my record? Like, what will this be on my record? Will it not? Well, this is something I'll be able to expunge and all of that. So that's definitely things you should consider when taking a deal.
So I have a question, and I kind of would like for you to have your future judge hat on for this particular, because how many months did he get? Remember we were talking about that? The guy from the Capitol riot?
Oh, he got 5 years.
5 years. I don't know if you heard about that guy. What was his name?
Oh wow, I want to say Conroy or Conrad or something like that. But basically, you're going to tell the story.
Tell the story, because
Okay,
I'm just curious to see if that was a fair deal or he actually got the shitty end of the stick. That's all I'm saying.
So everybody know about what happened at the Capitol, right? So there was a gentleman. He went and assaulted a police officer early in the day, right? For some reason, they detained him. They let him go. What does he do? He goes back and assaults another police officer.
Naturally,
so So now what I'm saying, they're in court, and they're like, what happened? Well, he was like, well, I just got caught in the moment. I just felt like it was just something that I had to do, And so the officer took the stand, and he was just like, I don't feel that this gentleman thought about me, my family, my children. And dude got 5 years. 5 years. Do you think sufficient amount of time? Because he's like, he do good behavior. He be out in two,
right? 24 months,
But like,
plus time served.
He was given a chance. Okay, so let's go into detail. So for one, he was African American, right? It was African American, assaulted a police officer at the Capitol riots, got released, and goes back. And now he's in jail.
I felt like he had to do it. I was just like, if that happens, you get released. You better just enjoy it, because that doesn't happen often. But on a serious note, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
I mean, the point of sentencing and spending time in jail is to deter conduct, right? To deter the conduct from happening. And I honestly think what happened on January 6th was absolutely outrageous from so many perspectives. Just from like law and order, basic, and then basic respect, right? Like, I'm African. Respect is a big culture. They were like defecating and doing all this stuff inside of like, it was too much. It was too much. And, you know, I mean, assaulting an officer that's there to keep the peace and all of that. To me, I think that everyone involved should be sentenced appropriately. And I think longer sentences to set an example are not necessarily a bad thing. Now, however, he was African-American, and we historically have longer sentences imposed upon us. So that's problematic. So with, you know, that's something, and it's something that's so hard to gauge, right? Because what are you going to say? You have to really lay out like, oh, how many black people were sentenced, you know, for the same crime as how many white people, Hispanic, you know, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, I think that in that particular situation, like you said, I don't think he'll necessarily serve all 5 years.
Told you. Like,
so
it doesn't matter though.
Like 12
1 day
weeks.
is too
12
long. You know what I'm
weeks
saying? I'm
is-
not trying to spend any time.
oh yeah, no,
You know what
no,
I'm saying? Like,
no. Five is long, but I think
let me be
because he's the
optimistic
first,
about this. Like, come on.
I think they're trying to set an example, and that's kind of where judges come from. Like, what did you do? Did you have an opportunity to turn your, you know, situation around? Did you do it? Did you not? So I think with him, like I said, it's an example. He may not have to serve the full time, but at least now he has a conviction on his record. You know, life's not going to be super easy after that, even if he does serve 2 years. So, I mean, I think it's harsh, but what happened that day was not something we want to happen again in 5 years. So, and the point of you know, sentencing is technically deterrence. So, I mean, I think he'll be deterred, hopefully, from coming back a third time if he had the chance. At the same time, I mean, you know, you have to sentence as fairly as possible. So it is a delicate balance.
So you think it was fair?
I think it's on the longer side, but I don't know all the facts, so I would have to look at that. I have to look at what sentences, you know. You know, but it's on the longer side. But at the same time, I mean, what happened is unprecedented. So I don't have an example to say like, hey, you know, 5 years ago, so-and-so did it and he only got 2 years. So, yeah, I mean, what they did was pretty outrageous. And like you said, he had an opportunity to leave. He came back. So, I mean, you know, we all make choices and we deal with the consequences. We're all adults. So he's dealing with his.
All right. So let's bring it back to the herb though, right? Let's bring it back to the herb. So if you had to prepare an argument on why marijuana shouldn't be legalized, what would you say?
Shouldn't be legalized?
Shouldn't be.
If I had to.
If you had to.
I would say it shouldn't be legalized only because, like any other controlled substance, it does have effects on the body, on the mind, which can affect the society at large. So the reality is, right, if we don't know, marijuana has been on forever, that's number one. But because it's been prohibited federally, we really don't have like an extensive amount of testing to show the effects, like how detrimental, how, you know, how good, how bad, or whatever. We do have studies, but we don't have, I think, the amount that we could have if it was decriminalized. But that's another point. But my point is, if there's potential to cause harm to the society at large, then it's something that needs to be regulated. So if like, you know, get so high, you have a car accident every week, or you get so high you're at work and then now you're mishandling machines and causing people to lose fingers, then yeah, I guess that would be an argument to criminalize marijuana because, hey, this is not only affecting the individual using, it's also affecting the society at large, his coworkers, the public, you know, his public streets, he's driving now, he's like, you know, high or whatever, he or she. So I guess that is why it's been criminalized for so long, just because it's a substance, it affects your body, affects your thinking, your, you know, reaction time, whatever. Studies say, I don't know, I'm not an expert in this, but I will say I think that's probably the argument. And my other personal argument why it should be why, you know, it should be, if I had to argue why it should be criminalized, is because the only people making money off of it now, the people who are mainly making money, unfortunately, are the people who are always, like John Boehner used to be a former, like the speaker, right? He is like big in the cannabis industry. And, you know, he made some of the laws that kept people in jail for decades. So, I mean, I don't understand why now some people get to now benefit from marijuana who cause so much harm to individuals for just mere like use. So I think that's one thing, but that's a stretch. And that's, if I had to make that argument, I guess, I would just say we don't have enough research to know the effects, and we don't want teens using it. We don't want people using it and causing harm.
Okay. All right. So what would be, let's flip that hat. So why should it be made available and legal?
Because we live in America, and this is a country. What is it? Brave, free, home, all that.
She had it ready. She had it ready.
Yes,
she was like, a bet.
No, that one I got you. No, the reality is, just like with alcohol or any other substance, we all, again, this is a free society. We can bear arms, right? So we should be able to decide as adults, as individuals, what goes into our body. We decide what we eat when we wake up for breakfast, what we eat for dinner. So it's the same type of thing. I mean, I don't think that's something that should be controlled because it was here. It's a natural substance on earth, and people can decide. You don't have to smoke, and if you want to, you can. And again, just like drinking, just like anything else, like people, pop prescription pills. Like there's just things people do. It's maybe not be in your best interest, and maybe it is. Because again, we don't even know enough to, I think, definitively make that determination. And I think if the ban was lifted, it would also make way for more investigation and research to be done, like openly, broadly at the federal level. We can see what marijuana could actually do as far as cancer, illness, this and that. So, I mean, I think there, and obviously the economic argument.
Do you have some stocks on the weed industry? Because I mean, I'm pretty sold. She's like legit on this.
No, I should, but no. No. I just, I think America advocates freedom and liberty. So that's our foundation, right? As an attorney, we study constitutional law. Like that's what we're taught that the society is built upon. And as long as it's not something detrimental that's harmful, to others, or, extremely harmful to yourself, I think it's a decision that's personal and you should be able to choose. So, I mean, I don't think they need to control like just so many aspects of individuals' lives. So that's how I feel about it. And yeah.
I think you might be ready for a political career, because I feel like you're saying it, but you're not saying it, but you're saying it. So I think
I have strong opinions.
Yeah, I like that part, because I mean, that's the hard part now, because you have all these people that are like very old school with all these values, right? So it's kind of hard to just say, fuck it, just smoke a blunt, versus like, no, this affects your reputation, your persona. So as an attorney and potentially being a judge in the future, how do you see your position in that aspect without obviously affecting your career and your beliefs?
I mean, luckily, right, I'm blessed. I live in a state, one of the many states, I'll say, that, it is not only medically allowed, but it's recreational. And I'm not saying luckily for any particular reason other than, again, it's more of a freedom thing. Individuals can choose to do what they like. People smoke cigarettes, terrible, right? So, and I'm not going to go around with a plaque telling everyone not to smoke cigarettes. So I think most of, like you said, the youth, the younger percentage of the country are, pro-choice in most respects of anything, right? And I think the reality is having it federally criminalized caused a lot of confusion, because there are 19 or what is it, 30 something, there are 37 or something states now, like as of maybe 2 months ago, that allow some form of like medical marijuana use, and there are other states that allow recreational. It's Colorado.
They got cocaine or something like that too, and I think, what is it, Oregon or something like that?
Do they?
Or Oregon or Seattle? That. Yeah, I mean, don't quote me on that, but no, but they had some weird like. It wasn't weed, but it was legal. So I think they're kind of aiming towards a whole different direction. I don't know, but
wasn't it in what you say in Sacramento where they got get high houses or something?
Oh, like yeah. They actually have spots. I think it was San Francisco or no, LA. It was actually here in LA where it's designated like go shoot yourself up.
Oh yes, like the safe spaces. Like okay, yeah. That's it. Honestly, laws typically want to protect the public interest, right? That's the idea. Unfortunately, we don't really make laws like until stuff happens, and then we try to make laws to prevent it from happening again. But like the idea, my understanding of that law is that if people have safe spaces, controlled environments, it would lead to less deaths, less injuries because, ambulances will be available. Because it kind of goes to the same idea that people are going to do what we want. I think that's just human nature. So it goes beyond law. I mean, there are certain limits of that. Obviously, you can't, go around harassing, stalking, murdering, God forbid, people. There are limits. But when you're making an individual choice like that, it's something that you yourself have to conquer and deal with in battle. So it's something so personal that, I don't think taking away, not having safe spaces is super, beneficial. At the same time, I don't think we should be encouraging people to shoot up in a certain
who's
area.
funding that,
I guess probably us. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't never try to put nobody business out there or anything like that. But I got a question for you, right? So, I mean, do you partake in little herbs? Can y'all do that? Like, I know it's legal, but like, how does it work? Because of your position, there are certain expectations, so how does that work?
So I'm the type of person, just personally, I like to be controlled at all times. I like to just be very level with everything that I'm doing. So for me,
what's your birthday?
It's January 22nd. I am an Aquarius, the best sign, the most chill sign, the coolest sign, the realest sign. But no, the reality, yeah. But the reality is, no, for me, I've just never been a person big on like substances, drugs, whatever. Like, I drink socially and all of that. But
no brownies or, gummies?
I'm not that cool. So,
okay.
So, no, I'll say... I definitely don't like frown upon it. I definitely don't frown upon it. I don't frown upon it, but the reality is like, no, I'm just very like type A. Like I need to be in control of my mind like for 80% of the time. Like I'm like, I have a few drinks and I'm like getting woozy. I'm like, nope, we're stopping right here. Like I can make that decision. And then also like my parents are African, so they were just always crazy. Like, oh my God, you marijuana, like, it's like cocaine, it's in their eyes. So, or heroin or something crazy. So yeah, it's just not, yeah, it's just not. But at the same time, like...
But you're down for it, though. That's a good thing. At least that's a good thing. That she's
I'm pleading the fifth on this question.
She doesn't do it, but she's down. Like, it's good.
That's fair.
No college stories, not like that.
College stories, let's see.
Sure?
I went to Pepperdine, okay? We're a dry campus. I mean, obviously, like, we circumvented that to some extent. Right. But it was pretty regulated. Yeah. I didn't have any like crazy fun. No, unfortunately. Let me think. Hold on.
So who's fun, you or your significant other?
I like to say I'm fun, but I mean,
shit. Then it's a wrap, huh?
There's other stuff you can do. I do like rap. Yes, I'm a female rapper, absolutely. Like on the side.
Oh,
so, yeah.
bars?
No. I just recite Megan's bars.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. I was about to drop a beat for you.
Oh, no, let's not do that.
Let's not do that.
Right. After I got shot.
So is there like a little pregame that you do before trial? Like maybe listen to some Megan Stallion or something crazy that like gets you in the mood, and then you're like, that.
Absolutely. I get hype on all my female rappers. I think I haven't been to court in like a couple of weeks, but I would say last time was like Lotto, but definitely like rappers. Like I'm big on Young Dolph, let his soul rest in peace. So he always gets me like, hype, like, yeah, we're gonna do this. Like fixing my lipstick, like listening to rap.
Put
like
the hoop earrings, everything.
No, I tone it down.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like, so, okay, you said Young Dolph. That's hood, right?
I love him.
So how do you turn that switch off when you go in a courtroom? Like, because, Young Dolph make you want to go up in the courtroom like, hey, this how it's going to be today. You using your hands and stuff like that. How you switch that? How you switch that off? No, and they be like, excuse me, Andreas?
No, it's all about balance. Like, as I'm saying, people are multifaceted. Like, yeah, I listen to rap. Like, yeah, I wear crop tops like up to here, and I can still go to court and I can represent myself and carry myself very well. I don't think, we have to be stuck in these boxes. Like, yeah, you can smoke weed and still like, be a professional unless your job requires testing, then you can't. But I think for me, it's just like I'm myself thoroughly. So whatever I'm comfortable with, I'm not going to hide that or mask that. Like you just kind of have to be professional, right? I think that.
Do you change your voice? Do you go from like, no?
No, I talk like this all the time. I just talk proper though.
No, what he's going. So what he's going. Okay, so maybe you notice your parents. Maybe not. Okay. I shared the story of when I was growing up. I can always tell when the bill collectors call my house because my mom's voice changed. So she can be like, "Hey, yo, yeah, we about to go do this. We about to pull up." But when somebody important called her when it was business, I was like, "Oh yes, absolutely." I would, and we were like, I was always wondering why we got to use the white voice. That's what I call it, But
Yeah.
he says you're mirroring whoever you're speaking with, and it diffuses the situation.
For sure. I mean, I feel that, to me, I always try to mimic their voice tone, the way they're talking, and it just makes them feel more comfortable to open up. Obviously, in the court system, I even learned because of my own, I don't even want to talk my experiences, but me going there, you don't want to talk too much. You know what I mean? Because they hear people talk all day, right? So you have to just go in there and I wouldn't say be submissive to another person's way of talking, but just mirror them and you'll have a better outcome. At least that's what I think. It works for me. I don't know if it's something common that.
So does your voice change?
I think we
a little bit
all do that to some extent, but no, honestly, with me, I just talk like, I hate when people say this, but like, I guess proper. I moved around a lot. My dad worked for like this government for CDC, so we moved around a lot, and I never really picked up an accent. Like I lived in the South. I was born in Florida, lived in Georgia, lived in Texas, California. I just never picked up an accent, so it always is kind of flat. I do not change it.
So what's your court voice?
Like, good morning, Your Honor. Andrea Oguntul on behalf of the defendant, Mr. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Like just strong.
Okay.
Like obviously
like
make your
I'm
presence
here.
known.
I'm here.
Yeah, especially when you're younger as an attorney too. You want to like garner as much respect as possible because they're not about to play me. So I mean, like obviously I talk like slang, whatever. But I think I'm just well rounded with it. Is how I think of it. Like yeah, you adapt though. I think what you said is right. You adapt to your environment, right? So if you're in a very laid back environment, I don't imagine you using your most proper voice because it's like at the same time, I think you should kind of stay true to who you are. So if you talk like because it just looks inauthentic, and then even after you get, in court though, that's different. Okay, if we're talking about court, you put your best suit on, your best tie. I hate when I see like defendants in the courtroom, like kind of sagging or whatever. I'm like, I don't care what you do on the weekends, but in this court, you're gonna impress this young man or this man or woman on this bench, and you're gonna get what you need to get done because you don't want to hinder yourself.
Fix your shirt.
Yeah. No, as attorneys, you tell your client like when you have a hearing, whatever, like dress your best, like be to the T's and nines. If I have to bring a jacket for you, I will, because the reality is you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, and that goes with the courtroom too. And the judge is human, and they make judgments. So appearance does matter. I mean, I think it matters, but it really does matter. So I would say, best foot forward or whatever. But no, you don't have to fully change who you are. Like, no, you were born this way by the grace of God, and that's, what it is. So
if you look like you don't care, why should I care?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of mentality. Mm-hmm. All right, that's cool. So, okay, so we got Turn Up Drea. We know she likes, what I'm saying?
She don't smoke, but she'll roll it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I make them perfect blunts. But show, hit me up.
No.
But now, with you being in law and stuff right now, like, do you
my
find it like everybody's hitting like your homies, like your inner circle? They always coming to you for advice. Like, I know Dre gonna know. Is that annoying, or are you like, yo, I'm off? Like, I just put in like 12 hours a day. Now you hit me up like mama calling me with a problem. But baby girl, what should I do? How you handling that? Or is that something that's common right now for you?
No, it's real common. I mean, that's always going to happen, right? They know you're a lawyer. The reality is there's very few percentage of lawyers, especially Black lawyers, right? So I know like my friends are, besides the ones from law school, don't necessarily have those resources. So to me, actually, I'm pretty good about answering the question just because I understand, how it is not to have access to that information. And if you're in my circle, if you're my friend anyway, then I want to help you, right? I want to support you just like I would expect you to support me.
Hey, we got it on tape now. We got it on tape now. Hey, let's certify this right now.
But it's a small circle,
She said pro bono too.
But no. I actually, one of the people who don't really get upset. However, I had like a really stressed day. I'm gonna have to call you back, and I hope I remember to call you back. But other than that, no, I answer them. My other friend, like, poor thing, was in an accident the other day. She's calling me, sending me pictures, like, logistically, and I'm happy to answer because I care about my friends, my people. I want us to be able to have access to this knowledge that, necessarily was gate kept or we didn't have before. So.
Okay. Now I got something else because I just have something just bubbling in my mind. So I know you got I don't know how. I don't even want to assume. So I don't know how you financially got through college and law school. But when I'm talking about the student loan forgiveness, is it fair? Is it unfair for somebody who let's put that law hat on?
It is. No. Anything that can benefit, especially like students.
She said no.
No, the student loan, absolutely. I would honestly go to say more can be done, should be done if possible. I mean, it's very difficult. It's not as easy as like Biden just saying like, hey, we're going to, erase 50,000 G's off your student loans. It's not that easy. It is a process, and he doesn't have as much power as you would think. So I'll say that. At the same time, like, I am pro getting rid of as much loans and debt as possible, because the reality is we all who, have that debt, you have to go out in the world. You have so many other issues, so many other things coming up. Things are so expensive, inflation, and things are only getting more expensive. So anything that can limit the debt we have, especially like as young people who are starting our lives, trying to buy homes, trying to do better, trying to leave assets to our children, our future, our lineage. Yeah, I am for, like, definitely for. At the same time, it is like, oh, where does that money come from? There are all those questions, but I mean, they'll make it work. They always do. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. GQ, anything?
Corporate lawyer, right? You obviously you deal with a lot of, like you said, firing, hiring. This whole world's kind of crazy. So my question to you is, where do you? Well, first, let me back up. Do you consider yourself with a lot of empathy?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm an Aquarius. We're just like humanitarians.
Okay, so with that being said, do you find yourself in situations sometimes where you're, let's just say somebody got fired and maybe they have a case, but you're obviously representing the other party. So what do you do in that situation as far as being able to cope with knowing something that's bullshit versus something legit?
No, it's hard at times, but I think as long as you try to be as fair as possible, right? If someone's injured at work, right? Like legit injured,
You'll settle?
Can't work. Yeah, and I would advise my client to be realistic, not only with the potential jury consequences, but just like be a human too. Like, this person was hurt. This person can no longer utilize their arm fully, or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, you as their employer had control of their actions at the time they were injured, and usually the corporation has the money to assist, right?
But you were hired to save money, though.
Yes. But I'm still saving you money, because if you go take that to a jury trial in California, you could get multi-million-dollar settlement. So the reality is, you're not only like, being a conscious, humane employer.
But what if that person doesn't have the access? So he doesn't know that they can have that much leverage.
I mean, I will say there are a lot of good plaintiff attorneys all around. Los Angeles has like one of the highest capital of attorneys in the country. So I feel like there is fair amount of access, but you're right. Not everyone has that. Not everyone knows that. But the reality is, I'm always going to put, my client first, whoever that may be, which is why I try to do pro bono work, do other things. So that way it's a wide range. It's not just like, for a corporation, a company, whatever. And some of these corporations are smaller companies too. I've had cases where, it's mom and pop, and they get hit with like absolute like nonsense, right? Also, for lack of a better word. And I have to assess that and get them out of the situation as fairly as possible to both sides. When you're an attorney, you're also dealing with typically another attorney, or you're dealing with someone who's representing themselves, who the judge is going to look at like, hey, did you take them for a ride too? Because you're the one with the knowledge. It's a lot of knowledge and a lot of responsibility too. So no, I try to be fair, because at the end of the day, like, I have to go home and sleep with myself. So I'm not going to be like, we're going to take everything. Like, I don't try to be aggressive in that way. At the same time, you want the best result for your client. So I definitely advocate. I think, again, it's like a fine line. It's not black and white, especially with law. It is about looking at the whole situation.
You don't look like an attorney that likes to lose. So I could imagine that being a problem,
But a settlement's not a loss necessarily, right? A lot of the times I'm saving you money long-term if you settle now. Because think about it this way too. If you don't settle, you go on, let's forget trial. If you go on for like 6 months, right? You're paying attorney's fees, heavy fees. So I'm saving you money too by you settling, sooner rather than later. if you are in the wrong. Now, if the company's not in the wrong, then we're going to take this thing all the way. Like, no, we're going to poke holes in every, point, and we're not just going to be like taken for granted just because, the money may be available. So again, it's all about like knowing your facts, knowing your case, knowing your I look at the medical records. I can assess whether, this person was really injured. Like, wow, like what if that was me? What if that was my mom? What if that was my dad, my sister, my cousin? So, I mean, I think it's important to be fair and ethical. And they teach us that. I don't know if all attorneys follow that, but I try to. So.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
What is because we're coming to the end, so it's something I want to ask you. What is your definition of success, and do you believe you've attained it?
My definition of success is to be satisfied, and I hate saying the word happy, but the reality is if you are comfortable with your life, whether that's your career, whether that's your partner, your kids, I think as long as you are pushing forward and having good experiences in all aspects of your life, I feel like that's success. It's not always monetary. However, if you have a passion, you're pursuing that, it comes along with it a lot of the times. So success to me is just having a good mental state, which is hard to do. I'm not saying you wake up and you're just happy. We all go through emotions and different struggles, personal struggles, interpersonal struggles, but just trying to strive for more. And for me, I will say I have a high standard for success just because of the way that I was raised. Our parents always just wanted more and more and more. And I like nice things. I've gotten to the point where...
So you're bougie.
I'm not bougie. I like nice things, okay? And honestly, I think I have more to go.
I see those eyelashes, so I'm like, you know what I mean? She rolling up in court, like... I get it.
No, I mean, it's all personalized because some people are, content with... And again, we're in America too. So think about other countries. Like I've been to Nigeria, I've been to other countries, been to DR, Haiti. People just have different exposure of, what's comfortable. Honestly, I'll say Costa Rica is one of the happiest places I've ever been. And I wouldn't say they're super rich or super that, but they have healthy food, healthy air quality, healthy family, and they're just, happy naturally. And I think they feel they're successful, in at least the people I spoke to. I think it's all just kind of relative, but for me, it is a high threshold. I will be honest. I want a lot out of this life just because,
you deserve
it. No, I really want to leave a lot to my unborn children. And you just want to get the best out of this. We don't really know what's next. I'm Christian, I have faith. But the reality is you want to, enjoy this as much as possible. I think we can all say that. So that's success, just being happy in the moment, having goals, setting more and hoping you get there. Yeah.
There's levels to this shit,
That sums it up. Yeah, there's levels to it. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our show. As I do all the time, I open up the microphones to our guests and to our other half of the show, GQ Nesto. And we're going to start off with him today. All right, GQ Nesto, is there anything you want to share with our listeners and our viewers?
Yeah, I definitely want to throw it out there that I know times are hard regardless of, what industry you're in, but just keep in mind this quote that I was reading from Tony Robbins was where the focus is where the energy flows. So that kind of hit me. I was like, shit, I've been focusing on the stupid shit. So I think it's time to just take things for what they are and invest in the right things, because your brain, you want to feed it good things versus, a lot of stupid, unnecessary things that, just create stress. So, well, that's basically in a nutshell.
Miss Andrea.
I will first thank you both for being here. It's been great talking to you both, getting to know you a little bit more, sharing, whatever I can share. I hope any knowledge I was able to provide today is helpful to someone somewhere. I encourage anyone watching, listening to reach out to me. Like I said, my social media is Attorney Andrea, pretty much on everything. DM me, my email's there. I do try to make time for pro bono and actually mentorship. So if anyone is seeking that, please reach out. But no.
You heard it at Option Forward. She said pro bono. Subscribe and get a link just to get certification.
Okay? Yeah. I still have to sleep, so let's balance this. Okay, I have to still go to Ulta.
You saw it in this episode.
So
Nice. All right. Well, once again, we want to thank you for tuning in today. Hopefully, we share some information that you can actually gain from. A lot of things requires a little bit of research and a little bit of effort, regardless of what situation you're in. Put the effort in, and you should get the result that you're looking for. But we love you. We thank you. Look for us on our social media platforms. I'm your boy Drew. Option Forward. We out.